One thing that has really surprised me about the foster care system is how fast everything happens. Take Mary and Michael. In just 5 months, they went from starting online training to becoming foster parents, and now they're navigating how to move forward after their first placement. Then there's Heidi. She went from not knowing where she will be living in the near future to finding stability at her aunt's house. If all goes well, she will turn 18 with the comfort of knowing she has a family to rely on. And that's exactly what we wanted to explore in this final episode. What happens when you age out of foster care, get thrust into adulthood, and maybe don't have anyone to guide you along the way? On another blistering hot August day, I found myself in McAllen, in the Rio Grande Valley, south of Texas, for the first time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This will serve as a gate change announcement for our customers.
The moment I landed in this city by the Mexican border, I hop into a taxi with Leroy Beron Soto.
Hola.
And though it's been more than a decade since he aged out of foster care, the effects of neglect still linger.
So you can't drive, you said?
Because I have a dissociative disorder.
Yeah.
So it's like daydreaming at random times.
Oh yeah?
So it's just for my safety and those around me.
His doctors told him that he probably has somatized part of the neglect he suffered as a child.
I think it's childhood trauma that has some, I guess because of the PTSD, I have like some kind of brain blockage.
And what are the effects when you have it?
It's hard to describe it. It's almost like daydreaming, but you don't know when it's going to happen. It can be for a few seconds where you feel disassociated, you don't know where you are, and you just feel confused.
Leroy may still carry the weight of his past, the neglect and his time in foster care, but his story is remarkable. He's part of that small 1% of adults with foster care experience who graduated from college and went on to earn a master's degree. Since then, he's been working at different foster care organizations, guiding youth with lived experience in the system and helping them navigate their personal issues or how to adapt to the new environment once they age out. And that's not all. In less than a month, at 29 years old, Leroy will be starting a PhD in education. But all this progress can be traced back to a pivotal decision he made as a child. Leroy, a young teenager, called social services against his own parents.
Was it a hard decision to call CPS?
It was because I knew what I was putting ourselves into it, but I also thought about safety, right? Like, how can we go out without eating for days? How can we go to living in a home that was deemed unsafe by the health department? Literally, we were staying with a neighbor whose home was filled with dirty clothes up to the roof. It sounds dramatic, but that was the case.
Leroy's journey into the foster care system started in 2005. He is the second of 7 siblings and was born in the Mexican city of Tamaulipas. Then, the family settled on this side of the border, but they struggled. It's not like his parents were abusive, but they didn't have a stable home, and that wasn't a safe environment for Leroy and his siblings. So, for many years, he bounced around from one placement to the next, and when he turned 18, he had to make a decision. Does he get a job or go to college?
I don't think college for the first time is easy for anybody with foster care and non-foster care experience. I think what made it harder for me was, one, just like many other folks, being the first one in your family to go and not knowing what to expect, and two, dealing with mental health at the same time, right? Like, how can I focus in school when I'm struggling with depression, anxiety, ADHD, and all of those things, and also just being alone. I remember.
Besides his work and studies, Leroy also volunteers at one of the local churches, helping with donations, logistics, basically anything he can give a hand with.
Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo le va?
This church, though, is one Leroy knows well.
I used to come to this church when I was first placed in foster care in 2005.
Why do you start coming back?
I don't know. That's a good question. Actually, when my dad was murdered in 2010, the pastors went to visit us, and that's because it happened years after we left their church, after we left foster care.
Oh, yeah?
And so, I used to watch their lives.
And that has been one of the most difficult things for Leroy. He doesn't have any close relative to fall on. His father, who had legal troubles, was murdered when he was a teenager, and his mother passed away a few years later. Behind this lack of mentorship has grown an insecurity that he hasn't been able to get rid of. The lack of trust in others, the doubts when he starts building a relationship with another person.
And since you left the foster care system, how has it been in terms of relationships, like romantic relationships?
I don't like dating. I think it's just hard trusting people.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so I don't trust people. And I like being independent, so.
What will make you change that perspective?
Nothing.
And if you find someone...
Maybe in the future to finish my degree, but not right now.
After hearing Leroy's story, you might think, well, despite everything, anyone can make it if they really try. But as Scott Batson from Arrow points out, the numbers tell a very different story. So there's an average of 1,000 kids that age out of the system every year in Texas.
And I had heard, I don't know, this was like in a training, but it's like, say it was like 40% of the kids that aged out went to homelessness, and of that 40%, 70% of them were being human trafficked.
The truth is, the fewer placements a child has in foster care, the better the chances of having a stable life as an adult. And that's exactly what Marie and Michael are trying to give to those kids.
Hello. Hello. Get down, Bo.
The last time we spoke, they had shared the highs and lows of their first placement. Now, having processed it all, they were figuring out what comes next.
Good. Come on in. Michael is digging in the freezer for me.
How has it been to share that experience with people at church, in the community, with your family?
I haven't gotten the reaction that I thought I would get, which would be very negative, of going, well, you failed. You're a failure, That's like the worst thing I could receive. Yeah. It's been more of support. Whatever we decide to do, and if we decide not to do it, it's going to be okay.
That first placement did not work out, but their house has all the signs of a foster home. The emergency escape signs, the mini fire extinguisher, the childproof locks.
So this is an electronic door handle.
Did you have that before?
No, we changed this.
Oh,
so there was like this handle here. So
how does that work? It has a code?
Fingerprint.
Well, it's fingerprint.
Oh wow.
And a code. So
and
then show how it lights up. I think.
It'll light up if you touch the pad.
So
it's either a code. But then it was when we went up to the second floor where you could see that they had carefully prepared the rooms for the kids.
So we have 2 rooms for foster kids, and then this is actually a guest room, but we have it so that if we get an extra kid, we could use it. So
you were going full on. 3
yes.
bedroom.
Well, we wanted to reserve this for guests because my parents do come every once in a while.
Yeah,
but yeah, everything else here is like toy stuff that we had gotten in preparation.
Did you buy it? Yes, they really thought through the details, striking that delicate balance of having everything ready for the kids while still leaving space for them to make it their own, to build it together. Did she play with anything in the house?
Yeah, yeah, she did. Yeah, I had a bunch of arts and crafts that she played with and loved. And
wow.
The dog took priority over everything else. So she loved the dog. So watching her with him was good.
That first placement was cut short on the 4th day. Things escalated quickly, and when she started acting out, they made the decision to take her to the hospital.
It's strange to say that, you bond in the ER lobby and then in the waiting room and stuff, but
how did you bond? Like, what did you talk about?
Just lots of different things. I'm trying to think of what we even discussed, but it was just Like
she,
they had
was
an
she
aquarium.
talkative and engaging?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, she was. Yeah, she was. They had an aquarium, so we were talking about the fish and, you know, like the strange sucker fish, and look what that fish is doing, and like we just, yeah, I can't think of specifically.
You can still see that Marie and Michael were really hit hard when it fell through. They had spent months preparing, imagining how they would care for this child. So when it all came apart, they were left with a lot of questions.
Because what would I do with my 9-year-old nephew?
Right, we would have scooped
And
them up and
I
held
would've
them
picked
for a
them up.
moment.
And I would have turned it into a play somehow, like, I don't know, whatever, I'd do that.
What do you feel you will tell to yourself 3 months back?
I think I would tell myself, relax and don't put pressure on yourself that doesn't need to be there. Because I felt like there were so many pressures of my own expectations, my case manager's expectations, maybe even the child's expectations of like, I got to get this right and I got to make sure this thing is in place and I know what to do if this thing happens. And so I would just tell myself, just relax and it will fall into place and it will be okay.
I'm sad that it didn't go
I
as
know,
planned.
I know. And we'll see what ends up happening.
Yeah.
I mean, we might get back into it. It's just so hard to know.
Just say it's like you need some break, and it's fine. You need both of you to find the right moment and the right agreement. And,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So
Yeah. That would be the hope, is like at some point, if and when we choose to become active again, that some of that stuff will just become second nature of how to respond. Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah, because we definitely want to do it together. I know that, you know, not every couple fully is in agreement. One might be less, but we definitely.
Yeah. As I leave their house, I can't help but think about the trust and courage they have shown in opening their doors, sharing their experience as new foster parents. Marie and Michael will have to figure out what works best for future placements, but next time they will have some experience under their belts. A few days later, I leave Houston and meet up with Leroy. This time, I wanted to talk about his work. Leroy, how are you? How are you doing? ¿Todo bien? As a professional that works in foster care organizations, he's perfectly suited to oversee the programs dedicated to the youth in foster care, guiding those meetings in which people with lived experience can express themselves freely.
What we do is we work with young people between the ages of 14 through 25 who are or have been in the foster care system, and we basically provide them with workshops about strategic sharing, which is how do you share your story without oversharing.
What do people want to share on these meetings?
So in these workshops, they're unique because we only let youth attend. We don't let other professionals who have not been in foster care, just because the training was created by people in foster care and they see it as a way to not only interact with their peers but also express themselves, right? Like share about their testimonies, like what was their experience like, how can it be better for others who were in similar situations.
That day, Leroy introduced me to one of the girls who is attending these workshops. Hi, Nevea, I'm Nico.
Hi, Nico. Nice to meet you.
Nevea also lives in McAllen, after aging out of the system less than 2 years ago. Now, she's pursuing an undergraduate degree at the local public university. We were supposed to meet alone, but to my surprise, her husband and grandmother are also in the room.
This is my husband, Pablo.
Pablo, nice to meet you.
And this is my grandmother.
Marina, nice to meet you.
It's my first time meeting all of them, but Pablo, her husband, looks way older than she is.
I turned 20 on Friday.
You turned 20 on Friday?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Congratulations in advance.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
When she was in foster care, Nevea, like Heidi or Leroy, moved regularly from place to place, from city to city. So, when she turned 18 and legally became an adult, she decided to go back to her hometown.
The day I turned 18, I took a flight to see my hometown, and then I stayed a while, and then I came down to the valley to visit and to stay.
Now, just after a year into college, She's been quickly learning what it means to step into a world where most people can relate to her experience. The adjustment hasn't been easy, but the counseling sessions have helped Nevea slowly find her footing.
I've learned with whom to share, where to share, how to share, what not to say.
When you say what to share and when to share, it depends on the person that you're talking to.
Yeah, like the person or the situation, whether it be peers, your family, acquaintances, strangers.
Yeah.
I didn't know when to stop. I overshared and I shared personal details that made other people feel uncomfortable. And I would notice that, but I would just keep going because I didn't know what to do.
And in some ways, it's the same journey Leroy went through years ago. Neither of them understood at first why they should be more cautious about sharing their own experiences.
Part of dealing with trauma is giving yourself those positive affirmations, like I'm the best, because I do that myself too. Foster care shouldn't define us, but I think at the end of the day we had foster care experience, so whenever I talk to people, I work in the field, I always talk about my foster care experiences, and mainly my community is based on the child welfare community. Child protective services, the judicial system, the aftercare services, young people like Nevea, the child place.
Nevea seemed a bit shy, almost like she's holding something back.
That's a bit of like a personal question, but do you crave for something? Love or acceptance or validation?
I think before I met my husband, I was looking for stability. And that's what I wanted. And now that I have him, it's just there. And everything comes with it.
That's why I can't help but wonder if Nevea is holding something back because her relatives are in the room.
How long ago did you meet?
Well, I'm a friend with her, and I knew her a while back, and I've always been like in their lives or her.
He's been a long time family friend. We got together September 9th of 2022.
When she came back from.
When I came back from my party.
From your trip?
Yes.
Well, that means that they started dating just weeks after she turned 18. I wonder if talking to her and Leroy alone will offer more clues about her transition out of foster care, or get her take on why she's dating someone 25 years her senior. Anyways, we say our goodbyes and agreed to check back in a few weeks. By then, Nevea will be starting her second year of college, and Leroy will be diving into his PhD. On my last trip to Houston, I visit Tabitha.
Hey,
What's going on?
What's
Your
up?
hair's all grown out.
yeah, well, I just cut it.
Did you?
Yeah,
oh my
yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
it's
It
grown
was.
out big.
I cut it a week ago.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Good.
It's been 4 months since Heidi left her house. After spending a year together, Tabitha has barely heard a word from her. While she thinks no news might be a good sign, there's a part of her that will have liked to hear Heidi's voice.
And I've talked with Heather, Heidi's Casa, and I think they're ready to, we're all ready for them to just give the case over, just close it and give Mandy custody.
Yeah, because Mandy's also like, I keep getting calls from CPS, they want to visit, they have this and that.
It's too much.
You know the deal.
I do. I know the deal. It's too much.
During her time together, Tabitha's main focus was creating a safe space for Heidi, but she also wanted to teach her a few lessons for her future.
I told her one day, today you have a teacher and a counselor who feel sorry for you, but someday you're going to reach a place in life where nobody cares. It doesn't matter. And in fact, sharing your story or letting people know that you came from the foster care system is going to be detrimental.
And Tabitha knows that from experience. Decades ago, when she aged out of the system, there were no mentoring programs, and she had to figure out things on her own.
I have gone through life without a support system. You know, when I go through things in life, I don't have anyone there. I've always had to stand on my own 2 feet and be there for myself, and I have no backup system. If I fail, everything around me falls apart, you know? And maybe there's some good in that, you know, because knowing that I cannot fail, that if I fail, I'm homeless, you know? has kept me going.
It was just 2 days before meeting Tabitha that I had driven to Austin. Arriving on a Saturday morning, I found myself sitting in Mandy's garden, surrounded by a playful dog and the sound of a water fountain.
We need to go for Christmas. We need to go to Six Flags for the Christmas thing. Yes, I heard it's so fun. They have like the big lights and stuff.
Oh my god, that sounds miserable.
You will love it. Hush it. You're gonna love it.
Heidi was relaxing at home, coming into the garden to chat with us, and leaving to her bedroom to speak to her friends on the phone.
Like what would we live in?
I don't know yet. Tiny
Are
home?
you serious?
A tiny home?
We are not living in a tiny home.
You have your own home, I have my own home.
Lady, are you serious?
That environment felt natural for a teenager. I hadn't seen Heidi living in a group home or at Tabitha's, but here, she seemed completely at ease.
It's been an exhausting journey, that's for sure. But I'm ready, I think we're all ready just to turn the page. You never know where life's gonna take you, what journey you're gonna ride day to day.
I mean, you definitely couldn't imagine this last ride.
Like growing up, I would have like this in comparison to our childhood. Like no match. I was like, wow. Like, wow.
And Heidi knows this might be the end of her time in foster care.
How do you feel being here compared to the 4 years in the foster care system?
Oh, I mean, like, here, the people who actually know me,
Yeah.
who, like, respect me, it's just, like, I'm much more calmer, you know, and I get to, like, I haven't had a phone in, like, 4 years, and, like, I get to, like, actually talk to my friends, FaceTime my friends, like, just gives me a lot more freedom and, like, a lot more happiness.
Looking back, it's incredible to see how much has changed for her in the 8 months since I first met her, when back then she didn't know where she would be placed next. Now, Mandy is working on getting full custody, which means Heidi will turn 18 living with her aunt. And together, they will decide what comes next.
Probably the end of her time in foster care.
Oh, how celebratory is that?
Is it the end?
I'm hoping.
If in a month everything goes well.
If everything goes well, it'll be the end.
Yeah.
They will no longer have to make decisions for her, you know, check in on her, all of those things. Like, win-win.
As we say our goodbyes, I feel Heidi's in a good place. Her worries are now those of a typical teenager, balancing her grades, deciding between theater or dance, exploring her romantic life, and reconnecting with her biological parents on her own terms. Heidi's journey has been a tightrope walk, years of instability, emotional ups and downs, and bouncing between group homes. But along the way, she also found the right people at the right times. Heather, her casa worker, Tabitha, who took her in when she was at her lowest, even Jamie, who offered to take her in as a foster mom. Maybe Heidi will carry the scars of a difficult childhood into the future, but soon, her time in the foster care system will be a thing of the past. That last trip to Texas turned out to be the final one for this project, but even after New Year's Eve celebrations had come and gone, I reached out to Neve and Leroy one last time as 2025 began.
So what's new? How have you been spending the holidays?
Well, for me, I've been spending time with loved ones. My mom came down to visit, so I'm just making the best with what we have.
In fact, Neve is still in touch with her biological mom. She was separated from her several times while growing up, but they never fully lost touch. Now an adult, and despite living far from each other, They talk regularly and spend the holidays together.
And how is your relationship with your mom now?
It's always been good. Like I said in the past, there has been hardships in the past, but I like to leave the past within the past and just build for a brighter future. You get what I mean?
Leroy, did you see anyone, any relative?
No, I didn't see anyone in Edinburgh. I was going to go to Nevea's house for the tamales, but she didn't call me.
Though only a month and a half had passed since we last spoke, a lot had changed. Things had evolved quickly.
A lot has happened since the last time we had talked. I'm going through a divorce right now with my husband. I think it's just time for me to move on. It's time for me to get my shit together, if that makes sense. Excuse my language.
I mean, it's never easy, but
Yeah, it's never easy. There's gonna be some hardships, but we're amicable.
Nevea has been accelerating her journey into adulthood outside the foster care system. She's gaining ownership in her own decisions, and the workshops with Leroy have been a crucial part of it.
There was a couple trainings that I did with Leroy about how toxic relationships and controlling relationships, and I finally opened my eyes and realized that I was in a toxic, controlling relationship, and like I said earlier, it's just time for me to move forward.
And now you're 20 years old and
I can make big girl decisions now. I spent 5 years in foster care, and with that time, I was just being pampered. I was getting decisions made for myself. I wasn't able to speak up on my behalf, stand up for myself. And now I'm starting to learn all of those things again.
And it's not only Nevea. Leroy is also stepping into the new year with significant changes. He decided to drop the PhD, feeling it was too demanding. As we talked, he also mentioned there were some professional changes on the horizon.
Basically, I got fired without getting fired.
do you have any goals this 2025 that you set for yourself?
I have a lot of goals. One of them is not to do podcasts anymore. I did a podcast recently and I'm like, I don't like talking. I want to be more behind the scenes this year, more kind of like in the private sector, more. And I also I'm hoping to open my nonprofit soon. I think it's good for me to do something similar, but do my way, from my experience and with the help of young people.
After a year of reporting, this project is coming to an end. When we started, we weren't sure exactly what we will find, but we knew one thing: the only way to approach something as complex and sensitive as foster care was to listen to as many voices as possible. In the end, the stories we follow, Heidi, Marie and Michael, Leroy and Nevea, Mercedes, are just that, their stories. Their experiences gave us a window into the system, what it's like to enter it as a child, what it means to take a leap and become a foster parent, what happens when you're thrown into it with no preparation, and what it takes for those working inside the system to keep fighting against the odds. Together, these stories paint a picture of foster care as something bigger than itself. It exists because of the failures of our society, the gaps in how we support families, the ways we succeed or don't in protecting the most vulnerable among us. And for me, I came in with my own assumptions, my own blind spots, like so many who stand outside the system trying to make sense of it.
You know, as you're nearing the end here and you're putting the podcast together, is the summary or the outlook positive?
When I entered this project, I came with the same ideas or preconceived notions that the general public that doesn't know anything about it has. I think it's more complex and nuanced, and people blame the foster care system, but it's not the foster care system that you have to blame only. It's the society in itself.
Not only was I an outsider to foster care, but also a foreigner who has spent years living in the US. And throughout this journey, I kept thinking about the bigger picture. The fact that so many children are born into circumstances that, for one reason or another, eventually trigger an investigation by Child Protective Services. Why is that? Are parents simply unable to provide the stability their children need? Or is there something deeper, something in the way American society is structured? The vast suburbs, the broken family networks, the expectation that individuals and nuclear families should fend for themselves. Does all of this make families more vulnerable? One thing is clear, there are no straight paths into foster care. No singles. Take Marie and Michael. They entered the foster care system with so much enthusiasm. Some might call it naivete. And if you've been following their story, it's been impossible not to root for them. Not just because of their kindness, but because of what they represent. The possibility of more families like them stepping up, opening their doors, changing a child's life. How many kids in foster care, still waiting for a placement, will have a better future if they encountered a family like Marie and Michael? And then there's Heidi. When we first met her, she was at a crossroads. She had already been through the hardest part, bouncing from one group home to another, and for the first time in a long time, she had found real care and stability with Tabitha. But even then, she knew it wasn't permanent. The uncertainty of what came next, of whether she would ever find a true, lasting home, was always there, just beneath the surface. And in the end, she did, with her aunt. In just a few months, her life has completely turned around, and this time, for the better. The reality is, the need for foster parents isn't going away anytime soon. That's the price we pay for not addressing the deeper, more difficult problems that put kids in foster care to begin with. But one thing I've learned is that the people inside the system, the foster parents, the social workers, the advocates, are eager to be heard. Many of them had nothing to gain by sharing their stories with us, except one thing: the hope that by raising awareness, something might change. And change is happening. Still, as a society, we tend to push the foster care system into the background, like it's something separate from the rest of us, something we don't think about. But that's an illusion. Foster care is not some isolated institution. It's a reflection of who we are, of the choices we make, of how we take care of each other, of what kind of community we want to build. And in the end, whether we acknowledge it or not, we all play a part in it.